Hello and welcome everybody to Week 12 of the Paladins Premier League. My name is Pretty Hair. We've got some great matches for you today. Of course, to help me bring you into it is going to be my good friend Gormizer. Of course, the Renegades and the Knights playing today. The big one that I think everybody's talking about, everybody's looking at, is Space Station Gaming versus Envy. Now, where the standings are at the moment, Gore, the critical mass is kind of loaded right there around third, fourth, and fifth place. We have three teams all within striking distance still of qualifying. We're taking the top 4 teams. That's the magic number, ladies and gentlemen. Top 4 is where you want to be. Like I said, Virtus Pro, 14 wins. Envy, 14 wins. Space Station, 12 wins, but with many more games to play. That is where the heat is going to be. And, of course, Team Envy and Space Station Gaming playing today after the Pittsburgh Knights and the Renegades, of course.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest thing right now. It's the fight for fourth between those two. And it is the difference of a week of play, right? I mean, you're looking at having to come in from the 3rd to the 7th of November to play through qualifiers, which you can argue is either better for you, worse for you, depending on how you want to go for it, or auto-qualifying there to the quarterfinals. And it's realistic for SSG to be able to steal that this week, potentially, if they go for it. Head-to-head is definitely a lot more in their favor. They've been able to beat Envy pretty much every single time this year. The only time they have a loss, really, in memory is a year ago on the world stage. So looking at that one, it's playing crucial. And the two teams that are up first, the Knights and Renegades, have a chance to play upset tomorrow for either of those teams.
For sure. And the big thing is Space Station winning both games, right?
Yeah.
What that means, like you just said, the head-to-head is so in favor of Space Station. But let's handle business first things first here. Renegades versus the Knights. This is the 8th seeds versus the 7th seed. And while we were kind of talking, this is, yes, right up against each other, but traditionally, at least this phase, that gap is a little bit closer than, or a little bit further apart than may appear on the standings.
Yeah, it's just one of those things when you look at the Knights, and granted, actually, if you look at like numbers of games played, the Knights have 16 more total maps that they've had to play this year than Renegades. But that kind of just showcases Renegades get 4-0'd pretty often. They did a lot in the first phase, and they have a lot so far this phase. And even in the recent history, the last time these two teams met, the Knights were able to win in a 4-0. And that's kind of been their plague. I mean, they just haven't been able to keep up with the rest of the pack. Everyone else is running a marathon. They're pretty close to the end. Renegades are about halfway there. They've got some of it figured out, but they've got to kind of figure it out a little better, right? They've got to still play catch up. And there's even been conversations with them as to like what's going wrong. And they're just like, some days we're there, some days we're not. And the problem is it's never all 5 of us at once. It's pick and choose 2 to 3.
It's a lot of different things, and rather than take our word for it, we had a chance to sit down with the Renegades, trying to identify some of the problems and maybe some of the things that did go right for them this phase.
The Renegades made core changes to leadership and philosophy going into Phase 2. With only 2 weeks left and the walls of the stay bridge closing in on Shadow, we wanted to check in with them and see how they're feeling and how a full-time travel to and from the studio has affected them.
It feels pretty good being close to the studio. I get to just come here and like be close and not have to worry about like traveling and flights. Flights especially were killing me.
Traveling for the most part, I don't think it really affects our play, but it's more so like maybe our mentality in a sense, because traveling over and over, especially coming from West Coast. I mean, EU guys have it a lot worse than we do, but coming from West Coast, which is like 5 hours, it's just after a while you want to be back home, and most of that doesn't affect gameplay. It's just how you feel during your off time.
Not having to be traveling constantly definitely helps you, but it's also like more than just that. Like it's about practicing like as a team, which we're not really getting much of that right now because like we're pretty spread out. But overall, being able to practice 7 days a week is pretty good. So this week, it's only been Invoco and Shadow at the hotel, and they're struggling. Like first it was Shadow like saying he's gonna get Chick-fil-A every day, but now he's gone to like making Taki cereal with hot sauce, and I don't know what's going on. I don't want to go to the hotel. I separate myself from that.
Had to do something while I was in the State Bridge, had to pick up something.
What was the best of the things you made?
Probably spaghetti.
The spaghetti with
Cheez-Its? Cheez-Its. No, it was goldfish. It was actually goldfish. It was good.
With travel and questionable dietary choices taking their toll, How did the Renegades feel the changes made to leadership and drafting have played out for them in this phase?
We came in as a team, and like I was like new, right? Like right when Renegades played in the PPL, I was super new, and so like they were coming off of like IGL or like leadership from Loki in a sense and Kliku, and that was kind of gone. But now it's like we're identifying our problems, we're fixing it, but everyone still is super ahead of us. So it just looks like we aren't really progressing that fast. But we'll see how things work.
I think it comes down to all of us being on fire at the same time, which I don't feel like has happened much this season. It's always all like sporadic. Like this week, like I'm gonna do really well, but maybe other people aren't gonna do like perform to the level that they can. And it's just about like finding that level, consistently playing at that level, and like trying to minimize like the down, like off weeks that people are gonna have, including myself. I think every team at a certain level has to like all be like on the same page, all playing at like a high level. You can't really have like moments where like 2 or 3 people on the team like are having an off week or not having like the best performance in game.
Yeah, so far Moon has pretty much solidified himself into the role pretty easily, but of course there's always going to be like, you know, the ups and downs of it, especially coming in as like a, you know, new IGL. But so far things have been good.
I've definitely felt growth with Moon as a drafter and as a team, but it's more so about being consistent in like these different metas and these different like when the draft changes a little bit, being able to like get on top of that and being able to like adapt and overcome like obstacles, which the season hasn't really been the best so far with doing that.
We're testing out some new things. We're trying to go back to kind of like our roots, but I think what we did is we just spread ourselves too thin and we try to like work on every draft and make sure we're flexible, but I think we should just focus on what we're best at.
Getting better, but still a bit behind the curve, the Renegades are locked out of top 4 and will have to fight their way through the placement bracket if they want to end up on the main stage.
We're not necessarily scared of any other teams other than the PPL teams. I mean, the competition is good, but I think PPL is just so ahead of the curve right now. Yeah, I think the worst PPL teams are still going to be better than the PCL and the PML teams, but I'm sure there could be some type of upset. But for us, primarily, we're not really scared of anyone.
All Business looks really good. Unfortunately, we play them round 1, but I think if we can beat them, we have a good chance of, because it's double LM, getting like pretty far and maybe making quarterfinals at HRX.
I think what gives us the edge probably is that the fact that we've been in this league, and this league is so highly, the competition is so big to feel like to the point where we feel like our standards are higher than others. And I also think we've been a team for pretty well, and I think our play is pretty mechanical in a sense. We have really good players. We just need to solidify ourselves as a team.
I think our edge is already being here for the 20-something weeks that we played PPL, being able to come in, be comfortable on land, be comfortable on stage, and not really have like too much to like really just prove and have like pressure on ourselves. We're just gonna play our game, and hopefully it'll be good.
Well, a lot of things to kind of mull over there from the Renegades.
Yeah.
Of course, this matchup with the Knights is not going to be easy for them. 7 versus 8 in the standings, but I think it's safe to say that the Knights have kind of stabilized that team identity, right? With not all this pressure on them, they really have started to kind of figure it out, and that's one of the last things the Renegades said is that we have really good players. We just haven't been able to figure it out as a team yet.
And you can even see that. I mean, the Knights, not only just this split, this phase of the year, they have immensely, 2 big changes in their roster, and they've been able to solidify themselves not only through that, but even just looking at the set scores against Renegades, you can see like the difference. The first time they met this year is a 4-3, then a 4-1. The last time this year is a 4-0. Like, they just keep getting better. You can't get much better than a 4-0, so the only thing they have left to do now is to maybe stabilize and continue at a 4-0. But with Simsalou coming in, with Zarini coming in, playstyle changes, drafting changes, more champions kind of opened up to them. They've been able to come through and make things just smoother as a team.
I think this squad, obviously Virtus Pro, Envy, or SSG, one of those 3 teams is going to end up in that 5th place and down in the placement bracket. But aside from whatever team that is, The Pittsburgh Knights are who I'm most scared of in that placement bracket. They're the ones I have the most confidence in from this, bottom 4 to make it out into the HRX bracket.
And something that was mentioned in the video that I feel like we haven't mentioned as much, but it is double elim. It is something that is going to factor into this. Losing first round isn't the end of the world for you. And when I think of a team that's going to maybe take a loss in the first couple rounds and then use that, I mean, in the past it's been teams like SSG, but the Knights are up there. They will learn. I mean, Simsaloo showcased that. Penta did incredibly well during MSI, and I expect having his knowledge and kind of that mentality going into that for a double elim bracket makes them one of the scariest teams.
I was going to bring that up. I'm glad you did, right? Having those players who not only have been in that position and know how to prepare for that, but also having played the teams that are threatening you, those minor league teams, those console league teams. It's Simsalo, it's Zarini, it's these guys for Arrays. I don't think Virtus Pro is going to be in that bracket, but it's Arrays, it's all of those guys from Penta that are best prepared to have handled this placement bracket. They just did it at the MSI. Now into the maps for this best of 7, folks. We've got Stone Keep up on the docket first. And now in a draft here. It's
those eyebrow
use
warmers.
The hand warmer. Got to keep the blood flow to the brain going and make sure that this game goes smoothly as possible for them. Willow's going to take a seat. Genos will join her. Makoa and Atlas, very standard bans. This is pretty much how most of these sets get started. As the game and the match evolves and things start to piss these players off in games 1, 2, and 3, these bans will kind of be in flux, but I think this is a pretty standard start.
And Con for Renegades, they pretty much have one of 2 options for off-tank once you kind of start getting rid of others. But Renegades specifically, Moonchopper can bring out Ash and make it look pretty good, and he can bring out Con and make it look pretty good. Con kind of being the higher priority of the 2 in terms of tanks. It's just unfortunate, I think, to be in a scenario where that's kind of locked in. I don't think there's a world where any other team maybe takes anything other than Con right there. But being able to, or being forced, I should say, into that kind of scenario and into those picks will shake things up for them and maybe cause some distress later in the set.
I think there's an on-paper sort of vibe and maybe cliche to, Con matches up, I think, better with Ash, and of the 2 off-tanks available, you would tend to want Con more than you would want Ash.
You ready for this?
I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in that.
I was born
Con's not a bad pick, but with that, with not having to make that decision and then getting to snap Barrack Strix, I feel like the decision is not only easier for the Knights, but they come out more ahead overall.
Yeah, Strix specifically because he's been so potent in these last few weeks of play as teams have kind of not only realized the strengths he already has, but have brought them to fruition and showcased and put them in the hands of players like Ricotta, who's
played Strix for a long time already.
Yeah, not only that, but also one of the best aimers. Like, when it comes down to it, it's a scary combo to have, and that means Invocal on the other side. His work's cut out for him now. I mean, nobody really goes Canessa on this map, so you're going to have to aim a little more at a deficit.
I want to say it was all the way back on that, super old Splice team.
Form up and follow me in.
I remember, that's kind of where Ricotta came on the scene. He played a lot of Strix on Fish Market, I think was their pocket strat, and they were wicked good at it, and I'm just like,
you trespass and are
he's the guy that's
stranger.
been there, for the majority of Strix's kind of lifetime.
He goes, we been know this.
We've been knowing Strix about
Locks it in.
And now it's kind of flavor of the month for sure. I think the Renegades round out with a really kind of strong draft. So I was feeling much better about the Knights draft at the onset, but I think the Renegades have really gotten themselves a nice 4 to follow up the Con. Was worried about what they would put together. I think people are getting a little afraid of the Furia Nara not taking it quite as much as I personally think it's worth, but this last pick, Io, hovered here. Is this the move for the Knights?
That's kind of the question. A lot of teams have been playing Io, have been testing her out. A couple of teams have figured it out more than the others. Renegades are one of the teams that kind of have brought Io and not succeeded with her, versus teams like Kanga that have been very successful with her. SSG, who was able to actually beat Kanga using Io.
Yeah.
And she has these maps and these little, I want to say idiosyncrasies that make her work really well. And it just kind of depends on how much work you've put in to lock her down, how much understanding you have of how she's going to function for the team. Because once she's locked in, it's a different pace of game.
That was a discussion about that pick, Gore.
Oh, yeah.
They took their sweet-ass time on that one. And it's going to be Cuss Cutie, one of them, sheesh, at this point, probably one of the most veteran supports to ever touch Paladins, champions of the realm. We've really seen IO be most successful in that aggressive style, but that's just because that's really all we have to look at when you know, Kanga's the only squad really doing it heavily with IO. I'm very excited to get into game number 1 and see how the Knights use the newest champion.
Thank you guys for the pass back from the desk. Appreciate that, actually, because I want to talk a little bit about the IO too. Now, this is, I mean, it was pretty much almost a Kanga staple from when they had ended up picking it because they were the team that had just ended up picking it the most. So I'm excited to see what strategies PK have in store for us for this character.
I mean, if any team's going to be creative, it's the team that's getting their drafts led by Simc, right?
Yeah.
Kind of bringing them around. And I think this could be a good place conceptually for it. It's a map where the point can kind of be a big point of contention, especially depending on whether you play high ground and low ground. So I want to see where their draft ends up. For me, I think Strix Maeve is going to have to be outside. So we'll have to see how the Knights kind of play around that IO on the point, IO Luna on the point, while not giving up the high ground too much and letting them spam down on them.
Of course, I mean, this has a whole new meaning of aggression, and of course the Goddess Blessing being brought out for IO means that she's going to be able to give her team some damage reduction, but other than that, pretty much standard all across the board on both sides. Now, starting off, what would you be expecting to see from either team, just from either team right now, Chris?
Just from rolling out. I think the Knights are going to try to control the outside, Ashe and the Barrack, but actually looks like, they're going to have the Barrack fighting inside. Ashe and Maeve controlling the church currently, and Renegade's pretty stacked up top, and with their sustaining composition, I make it a little harder to trade onto the point. Luna's allowing Renegade Knights to be really aggressive, and Zarini waiting on the stairs catches Viral after the dash.
Already first blood for the Pittsburgh Knights, and of course they're controlling Keep. They're making sure that they keep them back, don't want them to push up any more further than they need to. And of course, Moonchopper was looking pretty low, but we already see that they might actually just be stuck right here in this corner. There's nowhere that they can really go that they would be able to escape, and we already see that that is the truth. G-Bunny managing to get the first, or really the second kill in this game on Invocal, while the percentage on the point, 87%, PK look like they're about to capture this.
Yeah, because of Luna. Now Hero's going to have to run straight in, but I don't think Inara is fast enough, and she's not. Hero not able to make it in time. Now maybe a little out of position, but looks like the priority for Knights is going to be in the banana side.
Already Simzulu is already making sure that he's rotating around with the rest of his team. Look how aggressive they're being. They've already got the Luna to pretty much deal with the point. Actually, the point's not even moving. Now it is. Now they're going to be able to make sure that that point can continue moving and this pressure can keep on coming, because G-Bunny, Ricotta, both of them 1 kill each. And now we already see them flanking. They're keeping them in corners right now. They can barely even move.
Shadow great dodges to stay away from Ricotta. And the thing about Luna is Luna's so well trained as the cart moves. Well, she told me to stay here, so I'm gonna stay. Doesn't move to go with the objective, and means you have to kind of micromanage. Make sure you put Luna in front of the cart or on top of the cart. But either way, as long as you keep it controlled, it's gonna be pretty solid. Serene now, walled in on the side, might not be able to make it out. Pulling balls saves him this time and kind of opens up a little bit of an angle for the Knights to push in.
Of course, everyone's taking their time. The daggers are coming out on Hero. He's actually looking really, really low. And Vocal, though, was at least able to make sure that he picked off Ricotta. So that's one member down for the PK. And that's the second one down thanks to Shadow. G-Bunny, Ricotta both gone with a minute 20.
We didn't hype that up, but I want to point out that Bunny didn't land his ult. Bunny got stunned the moment before he hit the ground by a Furia beam from Viral and got to save it, which would have actually been sick for the Knights had they been able to convert that save in the ultimate. But now they have another shot at this. Zarini very high on these damage charts right now. 6K almost over the other one, and Renegades have to use this Inflame defensively. What can they find them?
Well, with a minute left, I think they got plenty of time to at least be able to build it back up. The Cypher Crash goes down, gets the stun, but Zarini is at least able to kill Hero, but Invocal is able to at least open the door for the Renegades by fighting not 1, but 2 kills. And that's going to be a lot for them to deal with, but not if their point takes are already pressured like this. They've already captured the point. Now it's up 2-0.
Moonchopper was never able to really re-heal on the objective. He delayed all he could, but the pressure coming in from main, they knew who to focus on the Knights' side. They knew exactly who the priority was going to be. And this is Zarini's positioning on that mid-fight. Not having to have your point tank stay on the objective, letting that sustained frontliner who can hold an area better than anybody else in the game be able to lock down a choke point that's key to your team's plan, I think is a really huge value that IO can bring that we really haven't been seeing quite as much from the draft. And Zarini, 6,000 damage above Invocal on the other side. 10,000 damage above his own Strix. A champion that we've seen rise to prominence because of just the raw damage output he can bring.
And Cuss already with the Haven 2, Nimble 1. PK pretty much upgrading their abilities. Meanwhile, Renegades are struggling for sure, but they've got the ultimates, they've got Scout, they've got Overpower, and just as I mentioned that, it actually doesn't end up hitting. Unfortunate for the Renegades, but they've still got at least 2 more. They've got Scout to at least be able to give them that knowledge, but not if Invokal's the first one to go down. Viral looks like he's going to be next on the menu, and he is. Simzulu with the double. Now he's looking for not even a triple, but really just another kill to be able to continue this pressure from his team.
The kill on the Cassie means that this Midnight is going to be free, uncounterable. Scout now only going to be used for the wall hack. This is such a huge delay by them right now. Bunny gets stunned after landing the assert dominance, but they still have to get through him to be able to touch the point. He actually doesn't go for the dismount onto Hero, but someone else manages to get it for him. And this control is really affording Knights a jump to the 3-0 lead.
Yeah, 99%, and there's the point capture. You already see it right here, folks. 3 ultimates up for Pittsburgh Knights. Renegades don't have anything. Next thing that they might be able to get, well, other than a flashbang to the face, and Invocal side would be the Inflame, but they don't have it up quite yet. Hero's going to be able to at least try and lock them off from this small room right here. Puts the wall up. But I mean, with how far PK is already up, that the second time in the row where they're pushing this hard, I mean, the Barrick, the Strix, and the Maeve all top of damage charts right now.
Yeah, and great play so far from the Knights. I think they found a lot of holes in the defense, or just the hold, I guess, that the Renegades are trying to do. Another defensive Inflame coming out, trying to burst through the choke points, but the Knights are already really far away. Look, Moonchopper and Hero both already stalled out, and this push kind of found nothing.
Right, exactly. I mean, Simzulu, once again, he's just playing up on this bridge, and Moonchopper's just eating daggers every single time that Simpy decides to rotate. Shadow is too. You already see that he's looking pretty low. Has to use the Ice Block. Gets healed by the Furia. Blinks up to use the Wormhole, which is going to force Simzulu out. Almost got hit by the Pyre Strike. Maybe would have been able to follow up, but not when you actually see the Ash really just locking things down up there up on that bridge. And Simzulu, he's still sitting pretty. He's about full health. You see G-Bunny up here, applying pressure still on this bridge. And I mean, Renegades have yet to find their answer.
I think Shadow's taking a lot of pressure, and it's splitting the heal focus too much. Assert Dominance comes in, but the Seismic Crash only connects on the asserted target, so 2 ults for 1 kill. They have 1 now, but with Midnight coming in, Knights might be able to find 1 of their own.
I mean, the shield, it does end up getting broken on Moonchopper, but Shadow is at least able to find something on the Simzulu. Zarini, though, was at least able to get that kill onto Hero, but they've already lost the fight pretty much. They're going to just sit back, wait to recuperate, wait till their teammates come back, and then try and make a push. They've got 45 seconds left. They have 3 points. It's really only going to require maybe a couple more ults, and PK have this one in the bag.
Look how much ground they've taken without using anything, too. Ash now has Assert Dominance. Could just use it in the spawn to lock things down, and she will. Grabbed though by Moonchopper at the last second, but still the first kill's going towards the Knights.
Yeah, we have another Assert Dominance that actually follows up along with the Be Gone, but Shadow just at least going to be able to open up that kill onto the healer, then onto the front line. Now G-Buddy's looking at Moonchopper. Simzulu, both flanks really popping off on either side. Both of them get doubles, but Viral with a double of his own. The healer wants a piece too. Make that a triple kill for the Renegades. Viral, my man, making sure that he is not affording any space given to PK.
What is it with the Renegades and making hero plays when they're down 0-3? Viral gets a triple kill, Shadow gets a quad in their last game versus NIP. They actually managed to get the OT touch. What are the Knights willing to spend to extend this fight? I'm not sure what it's going to be, but the health pool is actually not looking great on Renegades right now. Still, though, they managed to find the first pick, but it's an even 1-for-1 trade.
Well, I mean, the knockback just at least on the G-Bunny, but Simzulu, G-Bunny with a double. Simzulu with at least one of them. They're already looking pretty low. The Midnight comes out again, and they ended it. It was a good clutch play. Viral with the triple kill. But, I mean, PK were just on them so heavily, and I think that part of that credibility can be to the IO.
I think, I would say so. The IO had a more consistent healing, I think, than the Furia was bringing. That Eevee, the thing that I was talking to some of the players yesterday about the Eevee Buck discussion, because I know we had that last week. Eevee, when she's getting pressured, takes so many resources, and I think that Furia just couldn't spread the healing the way that I think you would have wanted them to, and it forced the tanks to stay low, and it's kind of what led to a lot of the objective pressure being given up for Renegades.
You've also got to keep in mind that the cards at the beginning, I believe, they actually did have that movement speed, mainly just so for that pocketing build. They had Goddess's Blessing. Definitely worked out for PK, but right after this break, we'll have to see if it can work out for them again in Game 2.
I now powering the control room for the Paladins Premier League.
I'm over here, gotta get across. Whether you like it or not, there is a moment meant for us. And now you made it, but I already wasted. Open your eyes, let's get it done. Take my hand, just follow me. Shadow me, I want. Sky is on fire. The lake has turned to a golden sun. Oh, oh, I'll never get tired. It's wrong done.
Welcome back, folks. Game one coming at you quick. A 4-0 there on Stone Keep. And frankly, a pretty long shot overtime converted there, Gore, for the win. Kind of had to be like a Hail Mary. Luna goes up over the wall just to get that overtime started. And then the Knights just make something out of nothing.
It was impressive to see. Like the word that came to mind when I saw it was resilience, because there was like 3 or 4 times where I'm like, okay, Renegades get a defense. Renegades get a defense.
I think
Viral
they thought
gets a
that
triple
too.
kill. Renegades gets a defense, right? And no, they still lose. They held on with about like their nails dug in about as deep as you can get them.
Yeah. Taking a look here at the stats of course, Luna and Io, the support. 22k damage, 73k healing. Something caught your eye?
The best news.
What?
Ricotta was able to take top damage away from Zarini. Zarini sat at top damage, I guess literally until that last fight. And it's even still, it was only about 2,000 damage separating the two of them. Zarini was, it's one of those things, I was thinking about it while we were back there. And it essentially comes down to the point, IO enables you to not have to stand on the objective. So if you're Barrack here, you don't have to fight as much from the point. Zarini took that to heart and did so much damage not on the objective for a lot of this game.
Of course, Barrack, one of the best frontliners in the game right now, just in terms of flexibility, ability to put out damage in almost whatever composition he is a part of. And look at this, just what you said, with not having to worry about the payload, how aggressive he's allowed to get without losing anything. This payload is still being contested. He's still up on the high ground, dropping dome shields on people, crushing these shots home all day long. This damage matters, people. This adds up. It's really, really potent when you factor in how long that Barrack can stay in that fight.
Yeah. And again, with that, like, he was in the fight a lot more, so it makes sense. Like, he's hitting more shots, has more damage. But the fact that for a long time he was outpacing Ricotta until that last little swap, that's big from your front line.
I think you give him credit, right? Ricotta, every single one of Ricotta's shots hits twice as hard as Zarini's.
Yeah.
He's going to be exposed to the fight longer, sure. Twice as long? I don't think so. I think a sniper can get a lot of good angles. I think Zarini's just playing that well and hitting his shots consistently. That's the tough part. It is harder to connect a Barrack shot, depending on the range, than a Strict shot would be anyway.
Sure.
I mean, you've got hit scan, you've got that projectile feel. All good stuff, though. It's a good problem to have when the only people you're competing against are your teammates for top damage.
Yeah, that's all you're kind of rolling for. I mean, I think there's even a point, I didn't see it at the very end, but there was absolutely a point in the game where Cuss on Io had more damage than Moonchopper on Khan. And like those moments, that's the exact kind of moment or the exact kind of reaction you should have. It's a yikes moment for Renegades because it's just, I mean, you get these off tanks, Khan specifically, he kind of automatically does damage. Like, it feels like it's almost impossible not to do that much damage with him, but it shows how much in control the Knights were in comparison to the Renegades, that even though they had arguably a stronger draft, or at least a more consistent draft, they just couldn't do anything in return.
So let's talk about what's happening in the bans here. The switch up from Genos onto Khan. How does this affect that first pick? Khan was first picked last map on Stone Keep by the Renegades. Genos is now open. Will the Knights take it first? They hover Strix, something that is...
Ghost Feather reporting.
I don't know that I've ever seen that. I don't know that I've ever seen the Strix first picked. It's highly prioritized here. Maybe in that Kanga set that I missed or something. But
that's the only time I think I've seen it that highly prioritized, but it kind of makes sense. Again, people just... They're not playing Kinessa against him anymore, mainly because of the stealth change when it comes down to the fact that I can headshot him as Kinessa, but I don't know where he's going to be for the second shot. It doesn't automatically force him to kind of play around corners the way that Kinessa does.
It's kind of officially made him the king of that match.
Yeah, and so it's just more difficult to run through it. Unfortunately, it leaves Ash open as kind of maybe the premier off tank to pick up for this one. But like you said, with Genos being available over there, it kind of made me think that the Knights wanted him and they wanted to go maybe triple DPS and kind of link that sniper with it.
I don't know.
But I don't know if they even care.
I think by banning Khan, switching up the flow of the bans, leaving it open, and then choosing not to pick it. Yes, this is a strong combination, but it's one of those where I have the gut feeling like the Knights are leading the Renegades into this. It's like, you can have this strong comp, sure, but we want to know exactly what you're picking, and then we're building something around it, right? Something that might be a little bit more niche at the end of the day, but something that's designed specifically to defeat what we are leading you into. As they do hover Ashe here, Khan was banned out, so her stock shoots way up, in my opinion. Khan on Splitstone Quarry especially, versus like Stone Keep too.
Oh yeah.
He's so dangerous. That kill is guaranteed. You don't
Form
even
up
need a
and follow me
teammate
in.
with you. Everybody else can be completely elsewhere on the map.
Doesn't kill
And
me.
as a Khan, you're pretty much
Let us start
good for
running.
one on the point fight of Splitstone Quarry every round. So the fact that he's not there makes Ashe all the more tempting.
The only difference really is that it does come down to your aim, which I think Knights, like if G-Bunny gets it, it's a kill every round. Renegades, maybe a coin flip for some of the rounds, but still, that's a kind of risk you don't want to take. You don't want to have to come in and be like, man, I really hope he misses his overpower in order to make him less potent. And so they get Ashe because she's skyrocketed up there. You get Maeve, who between Maeve and Eevee, it's kind of, I would say, player preference. And Simsaloo has said in King of the Ring that he's not an Eevee player, even though he is a very good Eevee player at that.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising, I think, to see them maybe favor one over the
Keep
other.
talking while you can.
I think, that's all well and good, but in this matchup, if you can play both against the Renegades, I think you should take the Eevee. I think you should make Shadow or Invocal play that Maeve, right? There's two flankers that matter right now.
Yeah.
Shadow really only plays one of them. Invocal only really plays one of them. As Simsaloo, being the guy that can play both, kind of look at this draft and say, all right, who do I want to put in that kind of, not bad position, but who do I want to lock in? Again, it feels like the Knights are trying to lead the Renegades into this composition that they can then build around and defeat. And so whichever way that's going to be, right, pick the Maeve, make Shadow play Eevee, or pick the Eevee, make Invocal play Maeve.
Nice to feel
it's a decision for the Knights to make.
Again.
And, Eevee didn't
You
give Strix
are
too many
not
troubles
welcome
last game
here.
for, but I think that's a different story here on Splitstone. I think Splitstone is a little bit more wide open, a little bit easier to kind of get to that Strix. With a Grover there to play babysitter, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you see it being just as hard?
I think Eevee and Victor are going to have a little bit easier of a time overall than kind of the shutdown they had last map. I don't think Ruckus is going to have a good time at all. I think he is not going to have any fun. I don't know if he's going to have that much input, honestly, in this game, at least early on. For Renegades, and this is kind of always the case with Grover in my mind, but just the composition the Knights have in general, the longer they can stall this game out, if they can get this to a 3-3, it's perfect for them, because Ruckus might not be the most impactful for this game, but he's going to be really good at applying Cauterize and causing a lot of trouble for the Grover and maybe hurting the Knights in that way.
A lot of questions for me. Where is this Grover going to be positioned? Is he babysitting Strix? Is he on the low ground, keeping the tanks up primarily? Does he just have the range to do both? I feel like I habitually underestimate Grover's range, guys.
Same.
Ruckus is tough to play on this map as well. Where does he position? A lot of questions swirling around, and the only way to answer them is to get down into game 2.
I personally think that seeing Gore's face right there where he was like, "Eugh," like in reference to the Ruckus, I think that's a perfect way to think how this matchup is going to be, at least coming into this, because of the fact that I think that he's going to have a lot of trouble trying to position himself, just like Nick was saying. But what do you think, Prez? Do you think the Strix is going to be more of a problem for him, or do you think it's going to be the Maeve in retrospect? Like, which one?
I think the Ruckus is going to be able to slow them down on the flank. I think that's going to be his job. I don't expect him to be able to get onto the Strix more or less at all. I think just the ability for Strix to play on high ground and stealth away when he gets dove is going to be too much of a delay for the Ruckus to be able to immediately end the fight, which is kind of what he wants. We'll have to see where Moonchopper does end up playing, but it's going to be kind of a battle of the backlines. We have Strix, Victor, two very strong kind of just damage hoses in their own different way, and it's like, yep, about what I expected. Ruckus here to hold this, and let's see how aggressive Renegades decide to be.
Yeah, they definitely want to make sure they don't want the Strix to be able to use what he normally does, which is just sit back and free fire. He has a lot of damage. They want to make sure they put on that pressure. We already see it right here with both Shadow and Moonchopper, just like you were mentioning, and the pressure is on. But you can say the same about the Ashe. She's pushed up very, very far. Definitely eating a lot of shots from Shadow, but thanks to Wormhole, he's able to not stay in that engagement very much.
Actually, Moonchopper might have managed to slip through here. Ricotta does notice him. Shadow now connecting as well. Ricotta can just sneak away. Again, the stealth doesn't know where Ricotta is, but Ricotta gives away his positioning and goes down to the Rockets.
Just gunned down immediately from Moonchopper. Hero managing to actually take care of Zerini on point as well. Now they're forcing PK back. Now they've got 24% to Pittsburgh Knights 54. And it's looking good for them already. We see Moonchopper dash through that little roof right there almost instantly. And Vocal in the back line is at least able to pick off Tuscu.
This is a great aggressive play from Renegades. I mean, syncing up with the Eevee to get in and apply that pressure is massive. And it's now back to holding this high ground, that chase down. And Zerini looking to maybe sneak into the point. Has to actually just run it straight down middle. It's Victor damage, already half HP. Once his cooldowns go down, Zerini won't have much time left in this world.
Providing that they were actually able to find that opening. You see that Zerini is actually going to go down. Backing up, Moonchopper's going to get picked off by Ricotta. But of course, the Renegades are still in control here. Simsalou was at least able to try and even things up. But they've only got 2 people respawning on both sides. And the people that are still alive are still more than relevant, especially on Renegade's side. You see it right there, and Vocal's on the back line, pressuring Ricotta. He gets a double kill. Now Zerini's on the point, but he's one of the only ones left that can sit there.
And he'll be able to buy a little bit of time, but now that Moonchopper's back alive and up top spamming down with the Hexafire, I don't think there's any way that the Knights can extend this fight any further.
Yeah, the overtime is already gone. Renegades already have 1 point up on the board. They were able to capture that point. They've got the barrage, they've got the 2 times space, and they also have a dome shield. But PK, they've got the whirlwind, so that can definitely play a huge factor to the upcoming fights if Renegades try to force anything.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that'll be used to kind of stem the tide or get a little bit aggressive. Zerini now knocked off his mount, and money going down means a lot of these angles are kind of open, and Nora won't be able to buy as much time as her cooldowns will let her. Looks like Simsalou trying to pressure in the back line, but Moonchopper's in the way, and Maeve can't really win that fight when it's ready, but Midnight means that the Knights, I think, are ready to go and try to make something happen.
The dome shield already. He knows they're going to try and push him. They will pick off Viral. Pittsburgh Knights also will use the seismic crash. We see that Simsalou has the double. Zerini was able to at least get 1. And in this case, the rest of Pittsburgh Knights are actually going to push Renegades back with a minute 35 still on the clock.
Great aggressive dive there by Simc going over the side, teaming up with that seismic crash to find those picks. And now they can resettle into this defensive position, lock down this choke point. A lot of vision you get by holding up here makes it kind of tough for the other team to do anything tricky. But so far, man, Renegades have got a pretty solid performance in Vocal. 8-1, 31,000 damage on the board. I mean, Moonchopper is out-damaging on Ruckus, the highest damage character on the Knights, but that might change now with this really forward play by Simc, and all this verticality by Maeve gives him so many options to be tricky.
On the assumption that Moonchopper actually can't get out, but she will. Shadow will actually be able to land a nice shot on the Simc. It looked like Moonchopper was actually going to go down. He wasn't. Because of that, in this case, at least they're able to actually try and start their aggression, continue what they were doing before. But this fight is going to be contingent on if they can keep getting these kills, and they will. They're going to get 3. Now G-Bunny's going to go down. 40 seconds left on the clock, and Renegades are being able to push.
Scorver has to play a little bit more carefully, I feel, at least not to not be a bit of a target. Strix Grover, I think they're a little bit of too easy of a backline to get on, and Ruckus Eevee are really just dominating that fight. Shadow and Moonchopper playing so well together right now. Isolating these targets and picking them off before they can have an answer. Combine that with the raw damage that Invocal's doing. It's tough for the people on the Knights to just be able to stay alive at all. Simsalou, dangerously low, gets saved by the Blossom, but it's a lot of healing off the board for the Knights for a bit.
Oh, nice barrage, though, from Invocal. Now, the rest of PK are going to be subject to really just backing off. And that shot's coming out from Invocal again, but he's going to get moved forward thanks to the kinetic burst from Ashe. The assert dominance, though, they have to use it, but they kill G-Bunny midair. So the assert dominance actually does not come through. We have the Hexafire, but Shadow with a double, Hero with 1. Now Cuss is going to be in the back line. He can't make it back to point. Renegades 2-0.
What happened with that assert dominance? I heard it hit the ground. I honestly don't know. Was that just a really good Void Grip from Viral at the last moment?
Maybe.
It's hard to say, but either way, that assert dominance doesn't go off, and the Knights try to spend any resources to hold it, but they just can't. Here is Invocal in a very strong position in the end when the when the flankers aren't alive to pressure the backlines on this map, especially in these desperate point contesting moments, I mean, you can see the power of them. This is why strong backlines are so important to have on this map. That high ground, very tough to contest, so much vision that you get either on defense or on the mid fight. You can see Invocal 9-2, 51,000 damage. And I want to point out, Moonchopper's on a 12 streak right now. You don't normally see your Ruckus getting out of these fights, but they're winning these dives with Shadow and Moonchopper together so cleanly that even the primary, I'm going to go in and die now, isn't dying.
Right.
That's the last person you'd expect to be making it out of these fights, walking away without a death on the slash line.
All of Renegades, except for Viral, are pretty much dominating the tops of the damage charts too. I mean, PK just having a rough time trying to find their opening. Shadow, just as I mentioned that too, they're able to get rid of the healer. Now they're just going to focus fire on the Zarini. He goes down next. Simsaloo was at least able to take care of that Invocal in the back line, but I mean, on the assumption that he was able to continue going on, which is not true. Shadow's going to be able to pick him up.
I think the timing for the Knights was just a little bit out of sync there. Zarini shouldn't have been on the point that early. Even with double comeback, you need to at least wait for the backlines to be out of the picture. Invocal was able to put on too much damage, and they had Hero locking down Quarry so no one could touch their backline, making it a much easier fight. Midnight comes in, immediately cleansed by the ice block, and all the ultimates are coming out now, Fawn.
The Hexafire as well. They were at least able to take care of Zarini through time and space. Kamehameha is going to end up missing. Unfortunate for Viral, but they're at least able to trade one-on-one. Moonchopper still alive. It's going to be the end of his 12 streak right there. Simsaloo, Chi Bunny, they both were able to find the kills they needed to get more percentage on the point. 70% to 78. They've got comeback mechanic, so every tick will now be at 4%. They have a chance of being able to close this out quickly.
They weren't capping there, though. They gave the respawners time to come back in. Shadow's low, and he's the most important person to touch, but Hero went in instead. Mirage not looking for anything right now, but it might find Rakana at the end.
They do actually end up finding Rakana. Simsaloo, though, is going to pick off Hero just like you were mentioning. But at the same time, they're still subject to losing this point fight. Zarini, Cuss Cutie, both of them get the kills. Simsaloo finds another on the Shadow, but by that point, the point was already captured for PK.
Honestly, that fight was really on the back of Simsaloo. What such good daggers by him with that Cat Burglar buff, taking out Invocal in the back of the mines. And I mean, Simsaloo found that first trade that kind of delayed their ability to refight on the retake, and then his Midnight forced all the ultimates from Renegades, and it let the Knights come back in with kind of maybe less than ideal ults coming out. So great play by Simsi there, applying a lot of pressure and staying alive, I think, under the potential damage that Knights were trying to put out onto him. The Renegades, excuse me.
Yeah, Midnight goes out to at least prevent Renegades from pushing up any further into darkness. Good daggers. Simsi was able to chunk a lot of people because of that little choke point, because that little doorway they were standing in. I mean, providing that they're still able to push and get the pick, which they aren't at this point. Hero actually answers back with a kill on the G-Bunny. Shadow answers back as well with a kill on the Simsaloo. Now they've lost 2. Now you're going to see PK back up.
And you can tell by how they were positioned there, because Whirlwinded so far away from the fight, that it's because he's playing so scared of the dive. He's so afraid of that Ruckus EV pressure coming onto him, because Whirlwinded on a staircase alone. Some ultimates are getting forced out because they don't want to lose to the pressure either. Bunny uses Assert Dominance, trades out for Shadow, but it's still a 4v4.
Yeah, I mean, their support is down. They're definitely at a disadvantage here. The Assert Dominance had been used, but of course, they're still not dead. Everyone really biding their time with the minutes still left. Simsaloo is going to go around, jump over this wall right here, and pounce right back over it, so that way he doesn't need too much damage. He can still stay in the fight, but no definitive fights yet. Everyone's just trading right now.
Back and forth here. Ice Storm attempted to be used
nice.
by RNG to try to follow up on a kill, but Bunny barely gets away, and this might actually only be a death for RNG.
You see Simsaloo coming right around the corner. Is able to finish off Moonchopper. They were going to kill Ash. Here to G-Bunny. But Simsi with these daggers have just been the eye-opening experience that PK have needed to be able to continue pushing. They literally forced out a dome shield just now. They killed Zarini, but Simsaloo, I just was singing his praises, and you see why right here. His rotations across the board are too much. Moonchopper uses Hexafire at a very bad time, because now look at this. 6 seconds left, and PK are going to be able to push it in.
So many defensive ultimates used, really not for too much. They used Ice Storm and Through Time and Space just to clean up on an Ash. that didn't even die.
Right.
Hexafire used as a last-second desperate play, but not having that now for mid means the retake control is going to be a lot worse. And I swear, this was on the back of Simpsy. Again, that offense, too. Mave's so valuable right now, and now that Simpsy doesn't have to play Eevee and hurt his wrist, he's clearly being able to perform at a great level that I think a lot of people were expecting. Great control coming out from the Knights because of that. And the more careful play, it's kind of harming their ability to use their defensive ultimates, like the Whirlwind specifically, but staying alive longer, living through these dives, that's kind of all Renegades have for their draft. That's the whole point of it. When they don't work, it's going to fall apart.
Now, on the flip side, PK, you see that they've got 3 people with 6 and 7 streaks on their team. Shadow already hit a lot of damage on that dismount thanks to Ricotta. The back line is going to ice block up there to at least try to put pressure on the Simsaloo. But you see Grover already heals him right back up. They did use the Whirlwind though. They want to make sure they didn't go down another midnight. You can't see anything. It's bedtime. He's trying to put somebody to sleep, and it's going to be Hero. Hero is going to be taken down. G-Bunny's going to get that last hit, and now he's looking for Shadow, who blinks out, but G-Bunny is already still in that back line.
Such a good position by Bunny. Going to clean up on 2,
man.
maybe make it 3 if he gets this kill onto Viral as well. Very low
Bolt gang.
2. Great triple by him. Such good positioning by the off tank going through Quarry, but not overcommitting to the high ground, just staying on the low and pinching their escape. 81% now. Up for the Knights as well. Sir Dominance using the spawn, and I don't know if they're going to have a chance to touch.
Oh no, the Bugger was trying to run, but you saw how slow he was. As soon as he got out of that, he was trying, like moving in quicksand. He's going to be able to be taken down by G-Bunny. Good to Sir Dominance in the back. You see Ricotta already picked off 2. The 2 that didn't end up getting stunned that were already up in the front line. Ricotta took care of that. Of course, using that emote to see around the corner, but 2 minutes, 10 seconds, they just captured, and the payload is moving with ease. It is so hard for Renegades to find their opening, especially as they keep getting taken down.
Shadow and Moon are now a little bit more disconnected, not moving together. Not sure if this is an adaptation or maybe they're just on different pages with what they want to do. Moon's trying to control the mine side right now. Hero and Shadow are now the ones moving together up top, and Simpsy almost gets forced out. Great air shot by
nice.
Shadow. Might open things up for the Renegades defense.
I mean, that's going to be good for them, especially. I mean, they've got the through time and space. They've got Ice Storm, or about to have it, 2% away. They've got Barrage as well. And Vocal fighting another kill on the Ricotta. Shadow opened the door, and Vocal walked right on through. A double kill already. Provided that they're going to still be able to push. You see that he's actually able to break his ankles a little bit. Okay, I see you, Shadow. Zarini turned around and then went right back around, but he's still going to be able to get that kill on the Shadow. Took a little bit too long for the rest of Renegades to follow up.
Shadow missed the last shot and then got hungry for that last kill, and now they're going to have to disengage. Midnight used by the Knights, but some resilience is on board, means it's not going to do quite as much as it would have, but Invocal caught out by the dash by Bunny, and now the Knights are set up in a prime position to push this card.
Yeah, 4 ultimates though for Renegades, so they definitely could use potentially one of them, which this will be the one. Not gonna find anything though. Whirlwind, they actually used 2. That's gonna be huge. They got Hexafire, they got Barrage, they got all of them. 50 seconds left on the clock. If Renegades do not take this, it is not only gonna be hard for them to defend, but they're going to end up losing the game at this point. 3-2 PK.
Here's doing a great job surviving on the cart, though. Still in the face of Zarini, but got Zarini very low, and the defensive spawn advantage might be enough for RNG. Got on Strix caught in the side, but have their tank back up. And Bunny's a pretty good off tank, but no Ash is 1v5 good, and he's going to get staggered out and make things even harder for Knights on this next fight once it does come. We'll have to see what they end up deciding to do, though. Bunny dashing into the spawn. Immediate flopping over straight down. And I don't know if Renegades know that Simpsy's here, but I can't imagine. The card's not close enough for Simpsy to be able to backdoor, so that's not on the table. We'll just have to see how the Knights want to approach this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on PK was surprisingly taking their time. Simsaloo is still mounted up, so he's going to be able to be the one to touch. They actually do get it. He's diving right onto Viral in the back line. Void Grip, G-Bunny follows up. That is so unfortunate. The rest of the Renegades weren't ready for the aggression, and you see it right there. They didn't know Simsaloo was there. They clearly are not ready for this play that Renegades are bringing out with the assert dominance. They want to end this. The Whirlwind came out. They're using everything to finish this off. If they get Moonchopper, if they get Hero next, then that's going to be it for the Renegades.
They're taking a long time to kill him, though. That might have bought enough time, but the barrage is used desperately. I don't think there's enough time for the respawners to come in. Midnight being used, but Shadow got the ice block on the cart, plus the ice storm, but no other tanks are alive, and the Knights take another fight that maybe they shouldn't have even been allowed to have to another map win.
We talked about him, but I want to bring him up again. Literally, Simsaloo, that entire time, his rotations, the presence he had, the fact that he was there, no one on Renegades, and I'm glad you brought that up, No one knew that he was there in Mineshaft. As soon as he went around, he dove right onto the back line of Viral. And by the time that happened, Renegades was like, Viral?
Huh?
Where's my healing at?
See, I had an Astro Mark a minute ago, but I don't seem to know where it went.
Yeah.
And I think I said it during that last call,
Right.
but that was basically a fight that shouldn't have even happened. The first time was that Luna overtime. Second, Simsalou being able to get in. The Knights keep stealing these away from the Renegades, and they're going to have to find something out quick.
That's for sure. I mean, already up 2-0 against the Renegades. Right after this break, we'll be right into Game 3.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the Paladins Premier League. Welcome back, everybody. The Knights do it again in nearly, going into that overtime, potentially, not being able to close out the game. They find a way to just sneak in there and get it done very, very efficiently, Gore. On Stone Keep, it was a long shot. Here on Splitstone Quarry, it was another kind of long shot, but my goodness, these guys just know how to get it done going into overtime.
And it was fun being able to watch it the way it was, because hovering over Simsalou, in my mind, that's okay, he's the guy who's going to go touch the objective just to keep overtime. That wasn't their plan. I was just sitting there the entire time, and I'm sure that's what Renegades were expecting as well. They were able to get G-Bunny back in time to be able to touch while he had his ult so he could maintain that speed. Simsalou got right back to Viral almost immediately and was able to get rid of that Genos, and that caused so much trouble.
It's kind of
just
the
from
beginning of the
get-go.
end, right?
Yeah.
Like he just went, he was in there to point touch, and then he realized, well, there's nobody standing in between me and the enemy support. I could dive back to the safety of my team, or I could just dive onto the support. And frankly, where Viral was standing, he was kind of on that back ramp. So he would he dove the support, uncontested, kind of in a safe situation. Speaking of diving, G-Bunny knew the exact moments to get in there. Look at this. Uncontested, straight to the back line. There's an element of luck to getting killing blows on Ashe because you just don't do that much damage per bullet, but that kill on a Shadow is all him, right? It was almost as if he was completely unawares that he was even being shot by Ashe. And that comes into, that's not an angle you should be giving up to the Ashe. You know what I mean? Shadow's brain is like, I'm not going to be getting shot by an Ashe from back in my own spawn. You know what I mean? But G-Bunny was there, and he made it happen. That triple kill looking like pretty much the nail in the coffin for that second to last fight.
All of the Knights, at the end of the first round, they're 1-5, 1-6. No one was doing well in the first 2 points that were scored. They just flipped it on its head starting in round 2 and continuing forward. I mean, essentially a 4-0 after they went down those first 2 points. So really strong start from Renegades, which is way more than what I expected. But they were able to keep Ricotta locked down. The front lines were having trouble. No one on the Knights had any traction under their feet. And so they just fell flat on their face every time they tried to start running. But Renegades kind of had that reversed on them. All of a sudden, it was just ice that they were standing on. They didn't know how to keep their balance. And the Knights just knocked their legs out from under them.
It was a good start, though, on Splitstone, man. I really felt like they had something going for them. Even in the second mid-fight, it was 96-99, unimportant. Almost capped for the Renegades. Comeback mechanic kind of kept the Knights on their feet, but then they kind of lost Cuss Cutie uncontested. I was like, wow, this could be a 4-0 for the Renegades, but the Knights just managed to find a way to turn it around. Moments of greatness for the Renegades, but when has that not been the case, Goremizer? This is a team that just needs to figure out how to put it together to get a map win.
I can guarantee you can take all of the Renegades games from this year, and you could make a really sick highlight that would make them look like a world champion caliber team. And then when you it's when you add in all that context where it's just like, yeah, well, but this was, 5 minutes maybe total from this 7-game set, 10 minutes from this set, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can put it all together where they look like one of the best teams because they have so many great moments. But they only last for the moment. That's the fleeting thing is, I mean, you start that up 2-0 in that map, and then you almost immediately give up, or not almost, you do immediately give up 4 points. And now you're going to arguably the map that you've kind of had coined under your own belt all year, Ice Mines. You've got to make it look good.
Banning the pip away and first picking Victor. Now, Ice Mines is different. I will absolutely concede that. It's a different draft style, different characters, and even talents are prioritized here than anywhere else in the game. But to first pick a Victor when I think maybe earlier on in Phase 2 and even Phase 1, I don't think it makes sense to first pick, but it's more understandable than it is now because I think even Strix is a fine pick on Ice Mines.
Yeah.
People are doing Strix and getting away with that. Conceding both Khan and Ash to the Knights. I don't know. I don't know about this one, man. I'm not feeling the Victor first pick. I think I can go out on a limb and say that has never happened in the Premier League.
Yeah, I can't remember a time that it's ever happened. So
I don't have a stat to back that up, as most of my stats usually aren't backed up. It's mostly just my feelings and what I've seen. I don't think it's ever been first picked in the Paladins Premier League.
Well, Renegades at least causing first. They were the first team to play Io as well, and this was a map that she kind of first showed herself on. I think they had Invocal playing her. It's not very successful there. But honestly, based on the Knights draft, like a Khan Ash, that to me either screams triple tank, and they're going to hope that a Barrack or a Nara makes it through for them. Or they are going to try an IO and potentially have the full-on aggression, in your face, zone you out of this map, let Luna capture everything.
I would like to see that.
And the team just rolls you out of the mines.
Yeah, man. I think that's a good way to go because, frankly, that's not going to be able to contest, Barrack on the objective, right?
Yep.
Ash and Khan, that's not what they do best. I think the Knights, if they get scared, right, and they try to play even somewhat defensive against a Bomb King Victor who aren't being dove by the diving tanks, you know what I mean? That's going to be a problem for them. So it's a strong start earlier on in the year. Getting Khan Ash would have been a death sentence pretty much for the Renegades. Things change. Icemine, again, it's a very different style of mid-fight, and not only in the sense that the mid-fight is really all that matters and it's all that you're drafting for, but it's just this heavy-handed, almost sustain-heavy thing that when you die, if you get wiped once, it's almost it. So you want to draft a composition that can go the distance. And not Io, but Genos still lends itself to a lot of aggression. And again, with the Victor first pick, I immediately thought, I'm like, whoa, well, okay. Kind of loves Victor on this map.
Yep.
Really good Victor player. Oh, wait, Strix. People are doing that now.
Yeah.
And it's a flip-flop here in that
There's
Renegades
enough.
get both point tanks. And I'll let you finish your thought here before we kind of dive into that.
That's just, there's enough damage dealers out there that picking them up first, there's a reason they're not top pick. The reason frontlines are up there is because a lot of the good ones get banned away, and the ones that are the most potent, typically you want to scoop up first.
But yeah,
That's
let me
the
put it
reason
this
they
way. I
have her up
picked
there.
Victor, you get Strix. Are you mad?
Nope.
Okay, I picked Strix, you got Victor. Are you mad?
Not really.
Okay, that's
You picked Victor. I got Ash Khan. Are you mad?
a little
Kind
bit.
of.
I'm concerned at best. But this
Lock it
makes
in,
it
baby.
interesting. This makes it interesting. Barrack and Terminus, the Knights have been doing this. Zarini has been the only guy doing the Terminus here on Ice Mines and making it happen. Now, the Renegades sort of flip this on its head. They give the Knights both of the best aggressive off-tanks in the game, but they get both of... on this map, Terminus is one of the better point tanks.
Yeah.
Here and here alone. Barrack as well. Barrack is probably one of the best on every single map in the game, so it's kind of like, I don't know, our front line versus your back line, and this is an interesting one. The Knights playing with Dredge, playing with Zin, playing with Kinessa, and then ultimately ending up back on Zin.
If Terminus wasn't there, if they had a Nara, I think Dredge actually would have been a really solid pick. just as someone who can contest the space, make it very troublesome for a Victor, a Bomb King, a Barrack, a Gnar, like, they couldn't stand there without having everything threatened. But because Terminus is there, I'm assuming too much that he could just absorb with his Power Siphon. Xin going to be able to kind of thread the needle, maybe get to the background and backline a little more often.
I think they grabbed
I
it for
don't know.
guillotine.
Renegades
personally.
are really good right here. I think 4/5 of this I love.
Yeah. I think they grab Xin is good here.
Oh, yeah,
I love
for
Xin.
sure.
I'm super biased. I love Xin. Think he still works on Ice Spines. I think they grabbed it for guillotine here. Just to insta-kill Barrack, drop a Dome Shield,
Yeah.
insta-kill a Terminus, force reanimate. We'll have to see how it plays out. This set continues to get better.
You know what? Nick says guillotine. I'm going to go out on a limb with a tree branch right here and say that it might be Yomi because we've seen it before. On top of the fact that it was brought out when they had extremely durable character. Well, it was brought out during Triple Frontline. But, ooh!
He could still swap. I mean, guillotine is something
Spicy.
that both
On
I think
demand.
have merit here. The Yomi's going to struggle a little bit more into the turn because it does still, I believe, get eaten by the Siphon. So not able to really pressure the side that we're assuming he's going to be on. But it looks like it's actually going to be Moon Chopper on the Barrack, so probably Moon holding the stage side, maybe the barn, and Hero more than likely on the point, or just whatever opposite angle that would be. I agree that I wish we could have seen Dredge. Without Terminus, Gore was right.
Yeah.
Without Terminus, I think for sure we see Dredge.
Right.
Terminus is too good into blasters, but side to pressure here. Really aggressive, actually, on the
Yeah,
right
wow.
side is the Xin straight into Moon Chopper. Yomi's going to cleave through all of them potentially, and all this pressure already bought for the Knights.
Yeah, I mean, they literally, like you already see right here, they were able to get the first blow on Shadow. Hero and Shadow were pushing up on the side. Didn't even peel back to really try and help out their teammates. They were so aggressive with that bridge fight right there. We already see that Hero's getting dove already. They're forcing them all the way back. Ricotta picks off Moon Chopper 24%, and provided that they can just keep holding this zone, they're going to be able to capture this point no problem.
And, you know, when me and Hero signed our lease, I actually put a clause in that he has to be a good Terminus player to be able to live with me, so we're going to have to see how he performs here as this game goes on. Decent
what happens
pressure
if he
already,
doesn't?
though. We'll talk about that later. Good pressure early, though. Hero actually manages to find some pressure onto Ricotta in the back. Have to contest now, but not a cap time for the Knights. They were really focused on being aggressive and only got the objective to 51-60 now %. Renegades are going to disengage, but they still have a chance to recontest once the respawns get it.
Yeah, I mean, you already see that Simpson's just waiting right around this corner. They're looking at Hero. G-Bunny has pretty much stayed up on this bridge without really Renegades being able to have an answer to that. The first time they're able to push because now they're able to sort of group up on him, surround him, or at least in this case, Hero actually just backed up, had to go straight back to point because look at the percentage, 96% to 24. He had to make sure he stayed on that so they weren't able to stop G-Bunny from dashing.
This is a great counter to the Terminus right now with Simpson playing behind there with the Yomi. He has to keep turning around, but maybe a little bit too far away.
Oh, man.
Money goes down, and Hero gets overpowered off the map by Zarini, so that point tank is gone, but I mean, look at the Renegades draft. They have two, but now it's all up to Moon Chopper to keep this objective contested.
Yeah, he's stepping on the point. As soon as the timer starts ticking down, they're able to get good shots, but they aren't able to find a confirm at all. They're just dying continuously, 99%, and they're going to end up capturing, especially with Zarini getting a double of his own. Shadow has to fall back, doesn't want to get picked off, but you see Simsy, G-Bunny, both of them are just running him down, but good sight from Hero, but he still is going to get picked off.
You just can't block all the flat coming in. Great shot by Bunny to find that kill into Shadow. It was a good attempt to peel by Hero, pretty much as close as it could be. Also, Simsaloo is using new Xin in a way that I really haven't seen before. He used the Billow purely for a speed boost to chase that kill more. People will still kind of think of Billow as an escape tool, but with the new duration, it has a couple different uses that might end up being better in the long run. Mirage used to try to slow down the pressure from the Knights, but looks like all it did was make them hide around the corner, and looks like they might be ready to refight now.
No one's really committed to anything except for that dash straight in into Ultimate. You already see that they follow up as well. PK are ready to fight. They're able to collapse on Moon Chopper. Weren't able to get the kill, but just look how much space that already created for him. The shoulder bash comes in. The damage actually from Simsaloo lowered him enough to where G-Bunny could kill with that shoulder bash. Ricotta's able to pick off Hero. He has to use Dome Shield on the stairs to make sure they cannot push up. But they've got plenty of time. They've got a minute 20. Even if they still lose, now they're just going to be able to focus on Moon Chopper now that he dashed out.
And the worst part is the cart moved that entire time. The Dome Shield being on the stairs, maybe just drop and give up that position just so you can at least contest the objective. Give it 2 or 3 more seconds and Hero's back up. Unfortunate use of the Dome Shield. I think this Xin pressure is just really unexpected from the Knights on the side of the Renegades. They don't really know how they want to play around it. Seems they're positioning really well to keep them kind of checkmated a lot of the time. And this was that solid cleanup, I think, from Zarini off of that damage that Simsi was doing. The Con Ash, we kind of were potentially saying it could struggle a little bit on this map, but Knights are playing more than aggressive enough to make it work.
Now, coming into this next round, they were able to win. The Pittsburgh Knights were able to win bridge fight super easily. What do you do now? Do you try and contest them up on bridge? Do you continue to do what Hero and Shadow did, where they try and zone out the individuals on the side? Because it didn't work out last time because they just ended up getting picked.
I think you hold Shadow very passive, so he can spam either the choke or the staircase.
Okay.
And looks like he's kind of doing the same thing, but a little bit more forward. And actually, no one was watching stage to stop the Ash.
Yeah.
Ash and Xin already in behind Hero. Renegades kind of forced out between their choke and the barn. Knights have total control of the mid-fight.
Hero's caught out again, pushing up a little bit too far. That Cypher was able to at least be held up to prevent him from dying. But you saw Zarini just landing shots, gunning them down. And here's Simsi in the back. They have to use the Dread Serpent to make sure they get a kill, or at least force him back. He's not gonna die. Siphon goes up to eat the damage, but still nothing except for that sit kill from Cusq.
Cuz just walked up on the side. What a huge assert dominance from Bunny, though. Everybody in the backline gets stunned. Hero couldn't siphon the stun in time, and they're trying to use shields to peel, but if Hero dies here, that means the res won't be up for the point.
Man.
He won't be able to use it there more than anything, 90%. There's no way they can touch. Ice Mines is just too wide, and what a great aggressive play from Bunny. That just opened, absolutely swung the door open for the Knights.
Look at the zone. This is why I asked, what do you do in returning in that situation? Renegades just didn't end up doing that. They just sort of went with the same thing. Shadow waited back a little bit, didn't get what they needed to, and now look at this. Shadow has to pretty much play passively, not because he wants to, but because he has to. G-Bunny and Simsi are just holding this choke right now. They're firing back and forth. They're getting hit, but they're not feeling pressured at all. The payload is moving, and it just went under 2 minutes.
The styles of the draft from last map kind of changed. Last map, Renegades had that flank off-tank combo going in really forward. This map, it's the Knights, but the difference is the way this map is built, it's a lot harder to get away from the dive, I feel. Splitstone has that verticality. This map doesn't, and you can already tell. Look at this unstoppable pressure from the Knights. Renegades have to use the Bomb King ult, just to find one pick, and that equalized for now, but the card, look how close the card is, and actually no one can contest it, and then just walk it into the back!
Oh my, I saw it up there, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I was watching it, and I was like, wait, it just got contested. Is no one gonna turn around to try and get back on point to stop it from pushing? And it just pushed in, uncontested. PK at a 3, my goodness, I have no words for that. Because I saw it too, because you mentioned it. As you were mentioning it, I looked
on the other side.
Yeah, as you were mentioning it, I looked up and I'm like, that card's still moving, and no one, they've got the kills, but no one's actually contesting. Moonchopper was the only one.
That's the aggressive dive, right? They push and people peel back because they're like, whoa, we have to get away from this. And then as they back up, the rest of the team's trying to make a push happen. They're 2 split, lose 1 fight, game over.
Right.
It's really that simple. Knights just found the hole. They made that really aggressive comp work on ice. Not something we normally see. It takes a lot of synergy, and clearly the Knights brought it out today.
Yeah, I mean, they had it in the bag right there. I mean, they got the kill on the Moonchopper. That opened up the door for PK's 3rd win right after this break. This could be the last one, guys. PK's Game 4 will be on its way.
The Paladins Premier League is brought to you by Evil Mojo, developers of Paladins. quick and rather surprising end there to Ice Mines. Nobody contesting the payload despite some frontliners still alive for the Renegades. The Knights snuck it home for their third victory. Gormizer, one more stands between them and the set.
After 2 games where it's like the most contested, like, we're not letting go of this payload, we're not stopping overtime, like driving it in with literally no seconds to spare, that one was the most anticlimactic ending of the set so far that has just come through. Where it's just, I mean, they played it really well. It's not too unsurprising. It's just you watch it back and it's like Shadow's over here, King Bomb is able to cause some trouble. I think it's Hero down here able to cause some trouble. Oh, the payload's converted. Cool.
Yep. And now we've just got one more potentially, unless the Renegades can put it together. They will have the next map pick. So far, we've seen a couple of interesting things come out in terms of the draft for Ice Mines. Now, specifically honing in, on the Terminus, that's been something only Zarini has done. Zin, though, is another thing we got to see this game.
Yeah.
And that's, it used to be kind of a staple here on Ice Mines, but Billow changes, kind of nerfed him. Very few people still pick him up. How did you feel about what Zin was able to accomplish here?
I think it's been good. Very similar to the Terminus. It feels like something only the Knights are really pulling out as often. I feel like I've seen Simsaloo picking it up a little bit more often so far, and that's kind of been the biggest thing is like Simsaloo isn't afraid to bring it out on the maps he used to be very dominant on, and isn't afraid to bring it out in the scenarios where he's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Ice Mines, I feel like I've seen him run it a couple times on Jag Falls, where it's just, yes, Zin still works, but it's different now than it was. Like, I mean, even the beginning of this year, you watch it, he's in not every game, but a ton of the games. He was up there with Cassie Leon. Now he's been swept away, as you said, with a lot of those changes. But Simsy makes it look good, and we've also seen like a good versatility between Yomi and Guillotine to make him feel good and be comfortable and do well all in one goal.
Especially with Luminary, that's a nice pairing. You get to the Yomi swing when you've got the damage boost swinging for upwards of 900. I think I saw 77 damage there. He's got an off-tank Ash putting up a nice siege shield in front of him, allowing him to go off. The hardest thing about Zin is you're not able to dive as deep as you once were, right? Go as hard for those kills because your billow doesn't last as long. You can't, when you're that far in, you used to be able to safely get out. But there's still that damage output there. And even though it was G-Bunny who had to set it up, right, he throws the siege shield down and then Simsaloo starts yeeting these almost 1,000 damage slashes down the hallway, hitting 2-3 people. It's still just as potent as it once was. That part of the kit is still just as viable as it once was. That's the third map, though. Ice Mines in the pocket for the Knights. One more map. The Renegades have chosen to go to Ascension Peak as well as be first pick. Genos will be banned out first, followed by Strix, 2 characters that were very present, very prominent in the last game, and frankly for the majority of this set.
Now here's the thing that stands out to me, and this is just looking at all of the maps. Ice Mines is the one that maybe feels the most Renegades, like the one that they've had the most success on this year at least. But none of the 4 they've picked feels like a detriment to the Knights. And admittedly, I can't think of a map when I think of the Knights that's like, man, this one is one to take them to hurt them really. But Ascension Peak doesn't seem like the do or die to me for Renegades here. It honestly feels like Knights might have the advantage just because of this map. But with the way the bans are shaken out,
maps are tough.
You have to come down and deal with like Ashcon, who's going to be prominent on this one, what's going to change. Like, Ascension Peak's so versatile that it's more difficult, I think, for anybody to lock down.
Yeah, maps are tough. There's a lot of them in the pool. Obviously you want to have as many that you're super comfortable on as you possibly can, but there's only so many practice hours in the day. There's only things that so many things you can practice in those finite amount of hours. So Ascension Peak, while it is one of the more fringy picks you're not going to see too often, I think just at face value, because this is game 4 of the set, Gore, it's not been an overly long set at this point. It's almost impossible to kind of get to those really kind of bottom of the barrel picks when you're just not at the bottom of the barrel yet. Map, less of a factor always to me than it is the draft. I think a good draft can save you anywhere if you're comfortable with the character you are playing. Renegades do grab the first pick. Khan, answered by Barrick Willow. How do you feel about Willow on this map?
I don't mind her. This map doesn't scream Willow to me, though. There's certain maps, if I'm looking at Stonekeep, if I'm looking at Bright Marsh, there are maps where Willow is undoubtedly fantastic. And I think with Fayflight on this map, she's still going to be undoubtedly fantastic. It's those moments between ults where is she going to stand? What kind of position is she going to take? I mean, we talk all the time about how she struggles with high ground. And with Flutter, the distance that it gives you on the, kind of well side of the map, there's that balcony that kind of overlooks somewhat onto the objective. Maybe if you can take control over there, you get some good control. Maybe you're dancing around the statues themselves in there with your tank, but there's not a lot of places where I prominently think I'd put a Willow right there.
Yeah, you've got the balcony over on the well side of the map.
And that's about it.
But it's because of the angle of the door, you don't have you can't
3
penetrate
feet of
super yeah, you can't penetrate into that room super effectively with your left clicks.
I can get us out of here
I think the
alive.
Cassie Maeve pick
Stay
makes
close
sense
and
because
follow
of
my
like
lead.
kind of the predator prey sort of outlook there. When you pop both of those ultimates, one could counter out the other, but if you've got both, you don't have to worry so much about that.
Honestly, Knights, and this might be putting on too much of a limb because I think they need someone for a Ricotta here more than they need anything to go through. But I mean, if you locked in an Eevee there, I don't think it would be too terrible, although you'd be putting a lot of emphasis on Blaster, and again, maybe trying to find someone for Ricotta. I wouldn't be surprised if Leon, well, no, Strix is banned. Yeah, Leon shows her face once again here. Renegades, they've been doing really well at one thing, and that is that all of their drafts have been incredibly solid. They've been pretty normal overall in terms of like meta picks, but they have been solid. It's just come down to execution.
I agree with that. I haven't really minded too much with the whoa.
No way.
I definitely didn't see that one coming. And we'll see if he gets locked in here. I like, where this could head with the IO selection if everybody's just getting in there and diving 24/7. Koga's a fun guy to watch. They're up 3-0 at the moment. I think the Knights are just feeling comfortable enough. But it looks like that stable pick has been swapped to, at least for the hover for now. So much to talk about, I think, with IO. Not only the unique thing she brings in the Fox capping, but just the fact that this is Ascension Peak. This is that huge point. And I think it's easy to tuck Luna behind the statues, and in the chaos of this team fight, it's easy for the Renegades to forget about the Fox or not want to focus the Fox down first things first. So providing a lot of freedom of movement for the Knights frontliners, not having to worry.
There is no middle ground.
I've always liked Ascension Peak because you're always looking at this point dynamic. Do I need more point frontliners to lock down this huge point, or can I go with a worse point frontliner because I have a statue to kind of butt up against and hide behind? How does that apply to the Fox? That's really the question I think we have to answer here. And how will the Knights use it, right? We've seen that Luna is perfectly viable. She doesn't heal way more than anyone else. She doesn't do a ton more damage than the other supports. It's all about that unique capture mechanic.
And around the statue here, I think, is where she's going to be very prominent. I mean, Barrick and Ashe, again, can leave the objective to fight.
I wonder if you could throw her up on a statue and have her cap or something. Probably not. I don't think the vertical capture goes that high. We'll have to see, though. Indeed. Luna's first trip down to Ascension Peak. Let's get it down to the casters and maybe finish this set.
Well, here we go, guys. The second game that we at least are able to see Io. In both of those games, PK has been able to at least bust him out. So I'm pretty excited to see how she's going to be able to fare on Ascension Peak. But, I mean, it's nothing too crazy. Ascension Peak's not like a map where you'd be like, wow, I can't even pick this character here at all.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a map where you can kind of easily contest the objective. So having Luna there and letting your team kind of wrap around and deny that corner pressure on the objective that normally the off tank might be able to get on the other side, it could be impactful. We'll have to see how the Knights kind of decide to use it. I see the potential in it. It lets them kind of just walk into them. Normally, a lot of teams kind of feel like they're safe behind their wall if they win one side of the map, but being able to shove the other, I think, is going to open up a lot of doors for the Knights.
I agree. I mean, Ricotta right here is going to be able to at least keep an eye out for any flanks that will happen. G-Fun and Ricotta noticed that pretty much they've all 5 stacked on right side, so they're going to be able to respond accordingly. Zerini is going to go down, though. I like the 5-point rush, but you got 30% on the point already, thanks to Luna being well-trained. She's able to at least get some of that point capture off. But I think PK weren't expecting that, because you already see that they're pretty much falling back already.
This is a classic.
Oh, never mind.
This is a classic Renegades. A 5-stack across the point is kind of one of their old school strats, and good to see them still able to pull it out. But I mean, when you pull all those people over there, 66% and still going down. Bunny finally dies, but Heroes low as well. 84. They have to get in, but Heroes only at half health.
The objective, by the way, is something I think it is you should probably be standing on at this point, but it just gets captured. No contesting whatsoever coming out from the Renegades. The emote as well from Simsaloo. I mean, double kill from Simsy, one for Ricotta, and the pressure for sure. He's laughing. He uses Faith Fly Simsy. I see you right there. Okay. All right, buddy. I understand.
Well, Simsy always jokes about his ego, but I think that is
Yeah.
the most inflated it's ever been. He actually doesn't have a chair. He's just hovering,
Yeah, he's just hovering.
purely
Yeah.
off of his ego currently. Still go, great play by him, and this Willow-Io combination is actually going to be so hard to pin down between the damage reduction on the Flutter in his build, between the damage reduction from Goddess Blessing. That's a lot that they're going to have to burn through, plus the healing, plus the fact that you're never getting the right amount of healing because of Dead Zone. This Willow's going to be really impactful here. You can already see it on the damage charts. Solid across the board. Willow and Leon leading. Defensive Inflame coming off Renegades, but they do manage to find G-Bunny with it.
He was able to at least use that enlightenment, try to get a long-range snipe. Not going to be there, though. That ultimate is actually pretty wide, but it wasn't able to hit. What it is hitting, though, are definitely these crossbows coming out from Invocal. He's able to put on some pressure, but the Fury healing has just been a lot for them to really try and handle. Good disengage bolt. They've got Big Game present, but he wasn't able to find those finishing shots.
And he's actually just getting used to how Leon ult's going to work next patch. That's why he sent it in from across the map at full HP. Invocal, though, picks up Ricotta, and Bunny might want to trade this out, but a Fury heal at the last moment might make it a little too difficult. If they had Faith Flight, I think that would have been a good point to engage with it, but they don't have to back up a little bit. And look at this control that Simsaloo is giving to their team. I have to see how they choose to go in here. Renegades could Midnight try to take a little bit of ground. I think that's an option because the charge is so fast, but with Faith Flight coming up, Midnight's not going to do much to counter out that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Blast Flower present. You already see the Maeve indeed was chunked. Just pretty much putting on that pressure. Luna actually went all the way in the sky, took a bite out of Maeve right there. I mean, unfortunate for her. I mean, she was able to at least fall straight down to the ground.
Oh, no.
Not going to be able to be picked off, but you got this going on. You got the pressure coming out. You got to use the defensive inflame, but maybe one that was used a little bit too late. You already see that he's just being healed up. Look at the DR coming out from Io, able to keep Simsaloo alive for so long, and for him to be able to get so many different kills.
The damage reduction does so much, but the DPSs from Renegades are going to try to make a difference now, and Vocal finds 3. Not sure if he can get any more because of the pressure. Stun potentially from Luna, but they have to back up. Cuss not going to go for the miracle objective touch with Luna this time, and has to back up. What a crazy last-second defense from Renegades. I was clutching my chest when Simsaloo went in and everybody at Renegades was having a team huddle deciding what the next play was going to be, honestly. But Invocal comes out, says, I'm not ready to lose this game just yet. Pulls out a triple kill.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best performance it is that you can ask for, especially when it's that close. There's the emote and its owner, Simsy. Yeah, it's just like every moment game passes on, you just see his ego. He's just going to start rising up off camera.
He already
eventually.
is. He's already floating. I tried to say.
Well, I mean, that's true, but at some point, we're just going to end up seeing like his legs and the keyboard and mouse hovering as well, everything around him. My goodness. All right. 1-1 already for PK and the Renegades. I mean, they have some ultimates online. The old economy, I think, is about even. They don't have Faith Flight, so you won't be able to really cleanse that Midnight. At the same time, they do have an opportunity presented to them, and this time they're ready to try and meet Renegades on the right. This time, I don't think Renegades were the ones ready for that, as Moonchopper's already eating a lot of damage, but good daggers from Shadow, a good double kill. Dome Shield gets dropped down, but they already have the fight in favor of Renegades.
They have to lose this fight a little more clean, though. Bunny's still kind of trying to keep this going. It is 3 versus 2, but just 2 tanks, not a lot of damage left. Shadow chasing him down, but doesn't connect the shots.
Oh, the wall.
So unfortunate, the wall does keep Bunny in, so they will still be able to equalize this kill. More than likely, yes, but now Simsaloo coming back in with the Faith Flight hero getting tanked, but not enough to get through the damage from Blast Flower.
That is Blast Flower to a T right there, able to burst down on Nara. No target is safe when Willow's just free fire, and of course they're on the point, 21% for PK, but the percentage on Renegades, 72 already. They've been doing pretty well at least adjusting to be able to cap this point when they need to. And at 84%, PK are going to have to find some type of pick. Now that Luna's on the point, though, they might be trying to get aggressive on these sides with the Inflame. Viral does not want to deal with any of that coming out from them.
And Serena goes down to that bonus damage, but it's still a 1-for-1 Inflame. Only trading. Luna gets a stun, but Luna's still just contesting the objective. Simpsy thinks he finds his opening. Shadow barely surviving, but Simpsy's stuck kind of alone here. If Renegades decide to turn around. They might be able to flip this over, but the Knights are actually going to be playing off of it.
I mean, the damage was able to at least come out a little bit from Invocal, but you already see that the rest of PK have already caught up to where G Bunny is. They're pretty much just cleaning up at this point, 78%, and now steadily climbing. We're at a 1-1 scenario, and PK are more than likely going to be able to just take this point again.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to touch with how forward Zarini is getting those dismounts. Shadow tried to have that duel with Simsi. Got a little afraid this time, decided he wanted to take it, but Ricardo was right there, cleans him up with the presence. Can retake the high ground now. Simsi trying to be very aggressive, also pressured out. Even though Viral is leading in the heal charts, I feel like the utility that Cuss is giving to his team is just overwhelming.
The last flower playing pretty big role. I mean, it's just really just stop right there and just say Willow. And that's it. And then we just move on. Everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I understand what you meant. I mean, it's a lot of damage because you have situations like this where you're just able to lock them out. The minute 50 still on the clock, the payload almost there. I mean, Renegades have to find some kind of opening.
And Scout to try to find where that hole in their offense might be. Pressuring on the right side, but not going to get anything off of this. They managed to wall in Zarini. He's close to Dome Shield. He's not hitting the shots to be able to get it. 99 and walled in. He does go down. That's one way to start this off for them, but what more can they find from it?
I mean, the daggers are coming out for sure. Fire Strike actually managed to hit Leon at that case. He gets knocked right off the side. I don't actually know what happened right
like
there.
He surfed up a half pipe.
It may have been Tony Hawk, pro skater.
He did a 900 and then fell off the cliff. It's worth a shot. I guess those points, I don't know how they're going to carry over into this set.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help them.
Maybe
it goes straight to his ult charge. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, at this point, though, I mean, PK looking pretty good already still. Like, with a minute still on the clock, they only got pushed back a little bit. They're already back in the face. You already see G Bunny shoulder bashing and Vocal on the side. He's catching free. He's just really just eating free fire at this point. The Midnight is gonna what they're gonna use to try and keep their aggression happening. Shadow gets one, he gets a second, but G Bunny and the rest of them, they're already trying to push point again.
Honestly, Knights can still turn this depending on if they get this kill on a Moonchopper. Shadow trying to equalize, but he gets stunned. He overextends into the tunnel with Bunny and goes down. Renegades, this is getting desperate for them.
30 seconds left. Inflame has to be used. It is so close for them to almost be over at this point. PK, though, I mean, they're just chucking as much as they possibly can at the spawn doors of Renegades. They got two. They're looking at a third. That's going to be it. At the same time, I mean, already 3-1. PK could close this out. All they had to use was assert dominance.
Yeah, and that was a great play by Bunny. Renegade, they delayed it as much as they could, but they spent a lot of ultimates for a fight that wasn't going to end the game.
Yeah.
They spent Inflame. They spent Seismic Crash. Yes, Knights responded in kind with a few, but the game's not over yet. They still have to go into another mid, and now they're going to be missing those resources. Solo, this was that great kind of game-changing play by Bunny. Shadow thought he could get away with it, but
I've made a mistake.
Such good reactions there to turn him around. And, yeah, Maeve DR doesn't protect you, doesn't keep you alive that long.
Yeah,
it only does so much.
Yeah, I think at that point, it was just unfortunate for Shadow, the positioning. He was trying to burn G Bunny as quickly as he possibly could, but he really just activated G Bunny's trap card right there. Used the assert dominance, was literally able to clean up in the way that he needed to. 6% already for PK, thanks to Luna. Such a good girl, dude. Best girl. Can't really complain about that one.
There's aggression right now from them. Begon used by Cuss. Looks like it was just for some CC. Now actually gets to use Luna to body block, but it means he can't heal Simsi, but it doesn't matter. Simsi will find two all on his own, and now he's in a very aggressive flanking position.
Oh my goodness, he has to back off. 66 health already. Hero is at least able to get the kill on the Simsi, but another assert dominance. I mean, like, the zone is like so prevalent from them already. 72% for PK, and I don't know what Renegades are going to be able to do to find their opening. It has to be an overpower.
No, Inar managed to touch, but Knights are in a good defensive position. The respawn's coming back in. Overpower used into the pit, and that gets rid of Bunny. That means no Ash pressure on the table for the Renegades.
Into the well she goes. At this point, though, the Inflame is going to have to be used to try and find some sort of opening. But the fact that Shadow went so deep in the backline means that Ricotta is now a little bit free to just be able to do exactly what I was saying, free fire at this point. He's able to put pressure onto the Vocal, onto Moon, and with G Bunny on the side, Big Game's going to play a pretty big role, but it's not going to find them a big opening.
Not finding that kill is going to be huge. I can't believe Bunny stayed alive that long. Well, that Tommy ball was huge, but it's still traded back and forth. Both tanks on the point are very low, but Viral barely saves Hero at the last moment.
The Midnight has to be used along with the Dome Shield, 99%. They are holding on for dear life. Renegade, I'd love to see this type of play already. Now that they're able to focus on Zarini, Simsalu's just going to have to use the Fae Flight. They're just going to have to use everything. PK wants to close this out for a 4-0. And with the kill on Viral, that might be it.
Honestly, that dead zone sign seal delivered. This is going to be a 4-0 victory for the Knights. Renegades did what they could, but what a strong showing by them. All their drafts across the board, the aggression just unanswered from game 1 to the very end.
I mean, they weren't able to really adapt in time, and I think that's a little bit of, not necessarily a critique of Renegade's play, but also a little bit of a praise to PK when they were able to adapt on Splitstone. It was like from that point on, when they were down against the Renegades, they were able to find their opening and cash out on this win, because you see it right here, 4-0.
For sure, that was the momentum killer, I think. Renegades, they were fighting back. I mean, they had their shot, but Knights adapting, figuring out what RNG wanted to do, and then kind of just utilizing their strategy against them immediately after, I think was the big turnaround for them. Knights looking better and better every single week. Definitely excited to see how they're going to be looking moving forward into the qualifiers, too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to be able to play throughout the qualifier bracket as well. I mean, once again, Renegades, they did really, really well. They were able to at least fight back is really what mattered. They had their opportunities. They were able to take some of them, but PK were able to just adapt a lot faster and capitalize on most of those fights, those mid-fights, and really around those in-fights, too.
I'm also surprised Vapor made it there for the handshake.
Oh, yeah.
No, whenever I leave the coach room, I'm like picking up my drink, I'm picking up my notebook, I walk in, my team's already walking out. I'm like,
oh, okay. Well,
all right, well,
sorry,
Vapor must have sprinted. I didn't even see him go by. Must have been a straight-up blur, but still. Good on the Knights, man. 4-0 victory for them. Definitely a really solid performance across the board, as we were saying. I like they also got kind of really similar things in a lot of the different games. They had the same mindset, and clearly it was just something that Renegades wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that game on Ice Mines was also a little bit of testament to, I mean, the Terminus pick, okay, I can completely understand that, but at the same time, it wasn't hitting its mark the way it needed to. A lot of the time, like we've seen Zarini's Terminus on the flip side of that, since they were playing against PK, he's able to create a lot of space with that. They weren't able to find what it was that they needed, but PK were able to find at least 4 wins in a row for him. Really, really good on them. We're going to toss it right back to the desk to get their thoughts on it.
Thank you, boys. Great job on the call down there. Ascension Peak wrapped up again in favor of the Knights. So we mentioned the set scores between these two teams kind of moving into this matchup for today. It was 4-3, then a 4-2, and I think a 4-1, 4-0, or 4-3, 4-1, 4-0, 4-0. And it's just getting better and better here for the Knights. Again, this team has looked very, very scary in Phase 2.
And it's not only shown their growth, I think, as a team, which has been tremendous this phase, but also showcasing how big the gap is right now. And going back to like the Renegades interview, they're confident over PML, PCL teams going into qualifiers, but they are not confident against other PPL teams when it comes down to it. And I think this is a good testament. That was 7th and 8th. That is technically the bottom of the league going against each other. And it's still a huge ravine between where Knights are and where Renegades are.
It's kind of like, I don't know if I would say it about SSG yet, but they could get there, but it's kind of like VP. VP were 6th coming into this phase, and they're crushing everybody right now. The biggest thing you have to remember is that the records don't reset at the midway point this year. They're carrying over, so while the Knights did kind of bury themselves a little bit in Phase 1, they've looked very good in Phase 2. Io's first trip to Ascension Peak, piloted by Cuss Cutie, 3 and 3. Pretty decent damage. I love that ultimate. Now that I know it, like the way you can use it, I thought it would just track along the ground, but such a fun ultimate when you can use it like that. 33k damage, 91, almost 92k healing. Doing a good job boxing out with some of these, more lethal members of the Renegades while weaving in autos, while weaving in heals to his team, while micromanaging the Fox. We saw him pull it off the point when it was at like literally 1 HP, heal it up, and then get it back in there. Doing a lot of things right in these fights with Io, because Io, there's a lot to kind of micromanage there. It's one of the first characters that has that element of micromanaging something else outside of yourself.
Well, because you have to watch, if you lose Luna's health bar, that's a huge cooldown. I think it's 18 seconds versus a 3-second redeploy. Like, it's 15 seconds of a difference. Plus, you have to manage your own resourcing. How much can I throw out for healing over to you, over to you, over to you? Plus, 400 damaging shots. Like, you think, that's not a lot, but over time,
I was
if
watching
no one's
him
looking
chunk
at her,
Inara, and I was like,
good.
I'm like, that adds up. That adds up pretty quickly there, guys. The Knights grab this one 4-0. We're standing by with an interview with the winners.
Thank you guys so much for, of course, coming down here. Congratulations to your 4-0 against Renegades. How are you guys feeling at this point in the split? I mean, are you guys, like, did it go the way you guys were expecting it to during that match?
We're feeling pretty good so far this split. We just took a break last week, just like a little bit of a reset. We did not get a lot of scrims in this week, so we were a little shaky coming into it. I think Zerini was the most shaky. He's like, we're not practicing. We're done for this week. But sometimes, a break and a reset is pretty good for you, right? So
I didn't say that though. It wasn't that bad.
Speaking of practicing and I guess being ready for the game today, I had Simslu with me on Chain Reaction until pretty late last night, and he drank coffee when he was going home. Do you know if he got any sleep?
He doesn't need to sleep. It's Simslu. It's fine.
That greatly worries me. But gameplay related, on Ice Mines, you guys had a draft I really don't normally get to see kind of pay off on them. Have this like super aggressive, just take it to their window, pressure them. Was that just specific because of the draft that they pulled out with that last picks in, or was that something you guys kind of had prepped for the map?
I think when you're playing Ice Mines, you want to look for healers that can dismount. And when they're playing Dombo, we know that we're going to get free mounts over and over unless the Victor dismounts. And if the Victor is the one that's dismounting, then we're going to have better position on the point anyways, right? So
yeah.
So we knew we had the positioning advantage, so we just took advantage of it at the from the get-go.
So we're just to bank off of that question from Kresnik. I mean, we had talked a little bit, he had just mentioned about the aggression, the IO in this case. Where is this coming from? I mean, Kanga had been picking it for a little bit. What did you guys decide how to mix it into your draft so far?
I learned a lot of little tips and tricks and where to pick IO a lot from Jera, to be honest. We play against Kanga a lot, and I honestly, I don't play a lot of IO. I'd love to play a little bit more, but mostly from Jera and just getting a little bit of practice with it. So.
All right, thanks, guys. Well, congratulations again on your 4-0 victory. Very dominant, I think, across the board. But for now, we're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back with SSG versus Envy.
Skillshot, the official production partner of the Paladins Premier League.